Hi. In today's LinkedIn Live, I want to talk to you about three metaphors for change and growth. And as a professional speaker and as an executive coach, obviously change and growth is the thing that I have been focused on for my entire professional career. And these three metaphors came to me or came to front of mind today as I was on a call early this morning from Singapore into the US with a prospective student for my C-Suite Accelerator program. This is a program where we look at executive presence to take you all the way to the C-Suite. And I was just chatting to this gentleman. He's recently joined a new company. He has his MBA. He has his master's in engineering. He has a position and he calculates that he's 5 steps away from the C-suite. Now, all of which is great. He has lots of self-belief. He has some good confidence, but he doesn't know what he doesn't know. And so as we explored what he doesn't know, I talked about how he needed to look at not just his competence, but how he was communicating his competency within the organization. And then he asked me about the program, and we talked about it being between 3 and 6 months long. And he said, "Yeah, but I'm 5 steps away from the C-suite." And I explained to him that I accelerated people doing 3 jumps in promotion within an 18-month period. But I realized that he didn't feel the pain of frustration and challenge that many of my prospective students feel, where they've been stuck for 1, 2, 3 years in a position and realizing that the accelerating trajectory that they have isn't as fast as they thought. And then it dawned on me, I was born in 1961, the year JFK said, "We are going to put a man on the moon and return him safely to Earth." And growing up, when I was 7 years old, I saw Apollo 8 come around the moon. And of course, I saw Apollo 11 launch the first men to the moon. And when you remember those big Saturn V rockets, as I do, or you look back on the History Channel if you're much younger, you see all the power of those rockets, the main stage of the Saturn V, blasting this vessel from the Earth through the stratosphere and out into orbit. And it's like that with coaching and change programs, is you have to create the thrust. That 90% of your energy for change is right up front because you're often stuck by gravity. And gravity, of course, here is a metaphor for a whole bunch of things in your environment and in your own internal belief systems. To break out of the gravity of the status quo, the self-limiting beliefs, or the fact that you've been branded in an organization as a subject matter expert or somebody who just does their job and not as somebody who is destined for leadership, you have to create some energy up front. And I know with the coaching process, those first few sessions are transformational because we crank up the energy to get people to break through the gravity for change. And so when you think about your own life, how much energy do you need to put in? Because most people don't do it. I mean, the simple change processes like, getting fit, you have to go and buy the gym gear or gym membership or whatever exercise you do, and then you have to go through that initial pain and discomfort of learning the moves, right? It's always the upfront piece that knocks people back, that you need that thrust. And for me, I think that's coaching. Whenever I've made major changes in my own life, it's because I reached out, I got help, I got guidance, because that's what a rocket has. Once it's broken through that initial gravity, it's got guidance towards the trajectory. And in the Saturn V rocket and Apollo 11, that was obviously the moon. So the first metaphor I wanted to talk about was the rocket. The second is the slingshot. The slingshot or the arrow, with both of these, the metaphor is that it's pulled back before it's released. So again, the analogy is force. It is the amount of energy that's required to create velocity. But in the slingshot, as opposed to the rocket, it means you have to go back before you go forward. And isn't that true of life? is that often it's our setback that creates the energy to throw us forwards. So, it's not about necessarily rebounding. It's about throwing ourselves forward with energy. So if, like me, you've experienced setbacks in your life, at that point you had a choice. Do you stay on the curb? Do you stay knocked down? Or do you use that as the energy to project you forward? And I always say to the audiences when I'm speaking from stage, I never wish adversity to happen to anybody. I would never wish misfortune on a single human being. And yet, neither would I not, because it's often through our adversities that we discover our real strength, we discover who we really are, and that propels us forward. So the second metaphor, fairly obvious, the slingshot. If you've been knocked back, great. Use the energy of the being knocked back to propel yourself forward. And the last metaphor for today is the mirror. And this is a classic coaching metaphor or analogy, is that coaching is like looking in a mirror. And when we look in a mirror, we get our reflection. I get to see where I need to trim my beard. Ladies, you might adjust your makeup. And again, today, that isn't even gender specific these days. I just learned from one of my clients that Japanese men on average use 8 skincare products a day. So looking in the mirror, looking good is very important. So how does that work? Well, here's the thing about change. We often don't know what we don't know. We're always operating from a level of unconscious bias. And very often it's impossible for us to see what we don't know. So when somebody gives us feedback and says, hey, have you thought about this? Do you notice this? And you go, oh, really? No, sometimes it's uncomfortable. And my real test when I'm taking on a new coaching client is how willing are they to look in the mirror? How willing are they to look in those dark places where they never usually look, around the things that might just be holding them back? Because a major mistake that people assume is that people that get to the top are perfect. This is not true. And in fact, if you've had a bad boss, it's not true. You see, people get to the top not because they do everything right. They get to the top despite the things that they do wrong. Even the best leaders I know only make about 7 out of 10 good decisions. The effective ones look at the 3 bad ones, look at them in the mirror, or have a good coach to reflect back to them so that they improve on those in the future. Only focusing on the things that you're doing right is not going to propel you forwards. You've got to look at the other things. And as my good friend, the coach Marshall Goldsmith says, don't wait for feedback, seek feed forward. Look at what is it that's potentially holding me back to move me forwards. Now, as an executive coach, I do that. I have a few spots available in my coaching programs this year. And I'm doing a lot of work globally through this medium of video coaching because it is absolutely virus-free. And it is available in your time zone. So if that's of interest to you, go to my website, selfleadership.com, and there you'll see a button you can click for private coaching. If you're interested in that C-Suite Accelerator program that I talked about, the button is there also. So go to selfleadership.com. Very easy. I am Andrew Bryant, the Self-Leadership Champion, and the URL is very easy to remember. Well, what is it again? Oh, that's right, selfleadership.com. But if you just want to take this information and apply it to your life, I am also super happy, but do write a comment. Let me know how you're using the information that I share. Let me know what you want me to talk about, because I'm coming onto LinkedIn Live at least once a week. This week it's been twice to share some of my experience with you, because I'm feeling that that's the way I can grow and pay it forwards. So thank you very much for your time today, and watch out for the LinkedIn Live notification when I'm back on the air. So ciao for now.